I want to share with you today a beautiful picture of what true Christian fellowship and community is all about from the book of Acts, chapter 12. Hi, I'm John Kuert, interim pastor at Alpha Assembly in Clarion, Pennsylvania, and thanks for joining me once again for another heart to heart talk. I hope that you're doing well today, and I hope that you're in fellowship with other believers, because that's a very important part of who we are as Christians and how we can be better at living the life of Christ. Well, in Acts chapter 12, Peter had just been taken into custody for being one of the ringleaders of the new religious sect called Christians. And the next morning, he was going to be executed. And this was no idle threat by the authorities, because not long before this, the same thing happened to one of the other apostles, James. And sure enough, he was killed the next morning. And now Peter is facing the same fate. I don't know why James was martyred, while Peter, as we're going to see, was spared. But I do know from this passage of Scripture that Peter wasn't facing the situation alone. Back at one of the homes of his Christian brothers and sisters, there were many in earnest prayer for Peter. And as they prayed, God answered them by sending an angel to deliver Peter miraculously from the jail and from his premature death. They were determined that the same thing that happened to James was not going to happen to Peter. And so they pressed into God more and more and were interceding with greater intensity than ever. Now, what a beautiful picture that is. What a tremendous depiction of what true fellowship is all about, as these believers gather together to pray for Peter because they care about him and they love him. There was a spiritual partnership that demonstrated as much concern for Peter in his dilemma as if it were themselves. And you see, that's the nature of true fellowship. It's not just a social time that gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's not some surfacey chit-chat or Christian happy hour. No, it's caring and praying for one another and bearing each other's burdens. What a tremendous model of Christian community the early church was. And not only did they pray for one another, but they encouraged one another, as I was talking about last Sunday. And they helped each other, even to the nitty-gritty of sharing their finances so that no one was hurting. Now, I want to tell you, folks, our world is looking for this kind of authentic fellowship, and we would do well to pattern ourselves after those first century believers. After all, where else is the world going to see it? So let's fellowship, and let's focus on that more and more and more, especially in these days in which we are living. And let's ask the Lord to help us to fulfill this purpose of the church and strengthen that root system of our relationships. Well, thanks again for joining me today for another message from my heart to yours, and I hope and pray that one of these days, if you don't have a church, you'll come and visit us at Alpha Assembly there on 499 Grand Avenue Pike. And check us out on the website, alphaag.org, or you can go to our Facebook page. Well, thanks again, and God bless you. I hope we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.